Mhm.
can you do, I feel like I could do priming now that like my gut's in order.
Yeah.
Even though I've been carnivore for quite some time now, do you think that I could go back and prime like it would help? Like even though I've already gone carnivore. I know that sounds weird.
Yes, so I prime still it all depends on what's going on in your life that you might need it. There's a small period of time to prime. First of all, there's micro priming, there's mini priming, and there's the full prime. Normally for you, you would not do the full 2 weeks prime. No one needs that kind of nourishment after a while, after you're caught up, unless you are fully drained. So a mini prime is pretty much a whole week. So 5 to 7 days of eating
Okay.
those 3 meals a day. It's a little different. Some of us don't like to do the comfortably stuffed anymore because we learned that very important lesson of what it is already to stretch you out. So you don't need to go that far. Uh, and some of it, you just need 3 days. 3 days is plenty. You just do 3 days where you just, okay, I'm eating like it's my job. I'm eating 3 meals a day, and that's it. If you're doing coffee, coffee after food. So yeah. So if you have that incorporated in your mind and it's not 2 weeks, you're thinking to yourself, damn, I could use that, you know, like a tool. Like,
Yeah,
I've been under a lot of stress. I've been just doing a lot, and I think this would benefit me. So you find out after 3 days if you need 5 days. And then after 5 days, you'll find out if you need 7 days. More than likely, you don't need to go on. But
makes sense.
you just feel it out.
So good. And then my other thing would be I kind of went into this and once I kind of got okay, I went to one meal a day and
Mhm.
I feel like that was probably harder than it needed to be. But when for example, when you're talking about 36-hour fasting, which I
Mhm.
really like, I think that's an awesome number. After you do the 36-hour fast, do you still restrict time eating windows within the 36 hours that you're eating, or you just get game to eat whenever you're hungry in the 36 hours?
So it depends. It depends on how active your life is and how much you're doing. I mean, you as a jujitsu guy, and if you're rolling like 6 to 7 hours, you probably would have to the next day have to eat from the time you wake up all the way to the time you go to bed. It
Hmm.
just is, I mean, just to make sure you're getting proper nourishment. See? So the bet for somebody who's kind of like, um, more on the sedentary side, no, you don't need to. You could put a feeding window of like the 2 meals if you want.
Hmm.
Or it doesn't even have to be, you could put a feeding window and you eat all that in like, say, 4 hours,
Okay.
however much you want, So it depends, is my answer on that one.
I get that. Yeah, I like Bart K. I don't know if you've watched him too much, but Bart K is pretty specific to say to make sure that within a small time window you're eating enough protein to kick you out of ketosis for gluconeogenesis for proper kidney function and electrolyte dispersion. So if I said that correctly. So I was wondering um if when you're doing the fasting feasting, you probably naturally do that by eating within certain windows and then just being satiated for a certain amount of time.
That's exactly right. So, it is as important as the fast to make sure your feast is proper. So when they do these measurements of tests, they actually measure it with the amount of calories. So they're pretty much equal calories, and they're just a different eating window. And you notice that the people, even though they're eating the same calories, and same food, that with the eating window, that they will lose weight. So if we
Yeah,
know that, then it's not really about the calories. Well, of course, we all know calories are kind of bunk. But
yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But it gives you a clear idea that the space and time between eats is very important.
Okay. Sounds good. I like 36 hours. I hadn't considered
Yeah.
that one, and I think that's my favorite fasting feasting window.
Yes, yes, it is the best. I love it. And even then, I want to say there is a season. There's a season for everything. There should be a season for fasting. There should be a season for feasting. That's my personal opinion. The way I approach it and how I've been doing in my life has been seasonal. There are sometimes I just don't fast, and some seasons I will. And that's like around 3 months, season, just
That
like a
makes
season.
sense.
Right.
I
And
think
that's
there's a
how we
lot
did
more.
as animals.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, because I was going to say, I don't think people realize that we are cyclical beings. And
Right.
I'm in the Peterson Academy right now, and it was
Mhm.
pretty cool to see him talk about that. To see somebody who's talking about nutrition in that way, about we have circadian rhythms like a daily rhythm, but we also have a monthly rhythm, a
That's
seasonal
right.
rhythm, and a yearly rhythm that we are so far removed from our natural being that we're like, okay, just have the scientists tell me how many calories, give me the
Right.
numbers. I want to follow
Right.
that rather than being autonomous in their own body. You know what I mean? Trust your body.
That's
Know
it.
what it can do. You know what I mean? Study it, like figure it
That's
out.
right.
And then so the body is the temple has been something that's been like throughout multiple cultures, throughout multiple millennia, and they keep going back to it, but we keep pretending like it's not the case. They think we need this outside information, and science will always catch up with our ancestors. It's crazy.
And it is this very outside information that has messed up our communication between our gut and brain.
Hmm.
We're always thinking, oh, calorie this, oh, I'm eating too much, I'm eating too little, I'm sitting too much, I'm exercising too much. What is your body telling you right now? And that's what the important message is. And when I teach people, I'm like, look, yes, I put you to the extremes of both fasting and feasting, but that's so you can actually start talking to each other. You know,
Hmm.
sometimes it's like that first video you had, which is great. You know, on the jujitsu mat, you're like, what sort of shape you need to be in to do jujitsu, and
Oh
you
yeah.
perfectly. I love that. You're like, no, you just need to get in jujitsu because you just got to feel it out. There's no
Hmm.
way to expect that you're going to be, even a top athlete will tap out real quick.
Hmm.
You know, it just is, right? Because you're straining real hard, you're trying to all muscle up and stuff like that. You're not really feeling the other person or even feeling what's going on with yourself. This is the same case in the priming. I'm putting you under stress. And but it's a needed stress, and also fasting, it's a needed stress, but you can't do it unless you experience it yourself. Once you experience it, then you have a connection between your mind and your gut, and then the conversation goes on from there.
Yeah, that's very weird. It's almost like clinical separation, like in relationships, because everyone talks about like you know, my relationship with food got better once I wasn't eating food, which is
That's
weird
it.
because like
Crazy,
that's
right?
what they talk about in relationships. It's like you
Yeah.
just need to separate for it because you're always around one another.
Right.
You separate a little bit to see how you value that relationship. What does that relationship really mean in your life? So it's really cool that you put that fasting and feasting where it's like, what is my relationship with food? Well, how would I know if I've
Right.
never been without it?
That's right.
It's cool.
Or let's not forget, because we eat for pleasure, so we're kind of in it, not really in it. It's like, what if you did it like it's your job? I
Mm,
want people to actually literally hate eating. What's it feel like to actually get to that point?
yeah.
Like, oh my God, please let me fast. And that's because I did it to myself, because I was like thinking to myself back then, I was like, meat is something that's not going to hurt me. And I was like, I'm going to prove it. The only way to prove it is to try to eat as much as possible. And
Mm.
for me, I'm a bottomless pit. And let me tell you, there was a stopgap. Now, if I did that with carbs, that's a whole different talk,
No, you
right?
would die.
Right. Carbs would just outright kill you after a while.
Yeah.
So I don't recommend that with carbs. Um, but with actually nourished, nutrient dense foods, your hormones, your signals, all these will start rebuilding, and your body's going to just have to adapt to that stress. When it adapts to that stress and it's able to actually start knowing what to do with it, then it's going to start rebuilding your body. Our bodies work very well. I know that sounds strange, but it works very well under stress. Now, that's a controlled stress. This is why, hey, jujitsu, why do you get better the more you roll? Why is that? Right? It makes sense because under stress, your body just gets better. And this is not something brain. You're just, I've noticed when I'm on the mat, I'm like, I don't even think, it just happens.
Flow state, baby. Yeah.
Right. Flow state. Exactly. Flow state. Well, that's what we want for our bodies, but we need to put it under a certain amount of, I think, since we're intelligent beings, we can actually put it under proper, how can I say it? Just a stressor to make it learn itself.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like what do they call it? harmonic stress.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hermetic stress,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
the one
yeah.
that the little poison makes you,
Right.
yeah, not, yeah, yeah. I
I
don't
don't agree
advise the
with that with
poison with
food.
plants. Yeah,
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 I don't
yeah.
agree with that food.
Yeah.
But yes, hormetic stress. But I do agree it with heat stress, cold stress, exercise
Fasting.
stress, fasting. All of those are great. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, the hormetic principle would have been best said not with food.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. I do believe it will build
Or
up your tolerance to handle it, but that
I
doesn't
should say,
benefit your overall health.
wait, I shouldn't say with food, not with poison. Sorry, because all those
Yeah.
plants are poison. Yeah, because you're doing it with priming actually. So
Yeah.
not with plants, not with poison is
Right.
better at.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm totally on board. And actually, this past weekend was one of the most like revolutionary in a short amount of time, learning so much about carnivore and what it can possibly do for you. Because carnivore right now is all over the place. You'll hear a thing there,
yeah,
hear a thing here. Unless you get involved like with a coaching program, it's not like directed and prioritized, triaged, I guess you would say, in the way that it can be delivered, which
yeah.
is I didn't discover that until I was already far enough in, you know? And so I
Right,
think
right.
that's right. And the only reason I didn't join the steak and butter
Steak
gang
and
was
butter gang.
because it was like mostly female. It was
Right.
also, here's the other thing, it was all about weight loss. And my
Yes,
thing was mental health.
yes.
Like, and so that was one of the biggest problems for me. Even though I lost weight, I didn't even know I had weight to lose, right? Like, um, but
Man,
I
you're
was looking.
ripped.
Yeah, I got there eventually, but
Yeah,
uh, my mental distress disorders, my brain fog, my digestive issues were the things I was desperate for, and it
right.
wasn't until I saw Todd talk about it, you know what I mean, is when I was like, oh, they were onto something, like, and seeing Todd, you guys do that long video with Todd, which is why it triggered me to message you personally. But yeah, dude, that's why I became a big believer in building a group for men, because men, it might be weight loss. That might be one of the things, but also I think so many men are struggling right now. And I think they're struggling because of the food system, because of soy, because of the narrative that's being run through the United States right now and the ideologies. And so I wanted to create a place for men to come and be like, hey, it's okay to be men. Here's the reason why we think that you're feeling this way. And let's go ahead and fix that. And we have an effective intervention method for people in your situation. So,
Yeah. In my case, I've always wanted to get a men's group, and we do have kind of a men's Saturday thing that we kind of talk every once a month, but it's not the same. I did want to have a men's group, and I've been talking about it for a while. Here's why. There's something about being in a men's group. I mean, dude, I want to talk about erectile dysfunction. This
mhm.
is a very common thing,
That
throughout. I
men
want
don't
to
want to
talk.
talk about. That men
Yeah,
don't
we
want to
don't want
talk
to talk
about.
about, but
Yeah,
we should. We should.
exactly.
We should be able to, and I want to open that up because you know why? Because it's something we can do something about now. Now, we
Yes.
couldn't before, but we can now. Why not talk about it if it's something you can change, right?
Yeah. And we don't have to
So
sell you something. We don't have to
that's
sell
right.
you
We don't
a
have to
thing.
sell you
Yeah.
something. That's right. That's right. Nothing. And just getting your life down right. You'll get that feeling. Now I want to talk about what it does to your confidence. I want to talk about what it does to, believe it or not, it affects your spouse. It
Hmm.
affects her confidence, affects the household. So I wanted a place where to talk about, hey, how do we handle these situations?
Mm.
So, and I wanted to be brutally honest about it and talk, look, because, I went through the gamut where I had, no libido. I couldn't get a morning wood for like weeks at a time, so it was just that bad, right? So
Hmm.
this is very, what's the word? Demasculating, I guess, if you want to
Yeah,
call it that.
emasculating for sure.
Emasculating, right? Emasculating. So, yeah, so I wanted a platform to talk about that, but also I wanted a platform to talk about, hey, how can we get our best selves too? Like, what would make us that much better? What's that next level? whether it's fasting, whether it's jujitsu, whether it's, how can we excel in our thoughts and our discipline? Most important, get that discipline done. And I love that you're about stoicism because I'm very big on stoics. So, um, seeing every challenge and talking about people's challenges and look at it as opportunities.
Yeah,
Opportunities to build, to make you even greater, not something that you should shy away from or feel like, woe is me. I'm always the victim here, that kind of thing.
right.
Like, take it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's I want to give you the platform. As a matter of fact, you know how in the classroom there's courses?
Yeah.
We could build courses. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like you could have that platform, and so you don't have to go on and talk every day. If you record something, you know what I mean, and create a little course, we put it in there. It's like, hey, if you're brand new, it's like we strongly say like start here. This is
Yeah.
an intro to carnivore. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it builds on one another. And then like as we record these things, we go and put it in the course so people can see, as time goes on. I think that would be incredible. I think it's what you're saying is the best part about it. What do you do about it? People are just talking about it and or they just give you a pill.
Right.
We can
That's
do
right.
something about it, like by
Right.
by coaching. And so a men's group uh being pulled together for people who everything from weight to erectile dysfunction, I think is fantastic. A place for
Yeah.
people to be men, and it coaches them with not only in one aspect, it's multifaceted and it's holistic, right? It's got the body part with health, you know what I mean? What are we putting into our body and how that translates to everything, that filter that is our body. It's got mind, which is like jujitsu, and then it's got the soul, which is stoicism. So I believe that we build, and whether or not you're a stoic, maybe you're a Taoist, or maybe you're not even in philosophy, but the fact that we're having practical life observations
Yes.
and modifications. And as long as you are getting off the poison and the standard American diet and putting red meat in your goddamn body, right? And then jujitsu, it's working out. If you can't do jujitsu now, fine. We're going to be doing as many push-ups as you can in 10 minutes, whatever it may be. We need your body activated, right? So those are stake strangles and stoicism are like the three main ones that I would say, claim some sort of expertise in through experience, but it can be something that's a little bit diluted from there. It does, you know what I mean? So I think that there's no place out there on the market like this. There's no jujitsu course out on the market like the one we have. There's no carnivore introduction like what you have. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then in all in that we have there's not too many like stoic platforms where people can talk and have philosophical discourse as well. I don't think that there's a holistic place out there like that. It's either hyper concentrated, you know what I mean? And it's not connecting the dots. So that's why I decided to manifest this group and construct a place where this could be nourished and encouraged for men.
I love how you use that. That's great. I love that. I love that. I'm excited about that, and I really do feel like you're definitely on the right path. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen, and who joins, and because really the members who join make the group.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I'm very curious because I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of men carnivores, but they're brilliant. They research quite a bit and all that kind of stuff. So
Oh yeah.
we learn a lot from each other. We really do.
Heck yeah. That was the craziest thing is when we were at this weekend at the wedding and at the convention, random people were just telling me random things that they've experienced. I'm like, "Oh my God, I've never thought of that."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
and
we
it's
all learn from
gold.
each other.
Yeah, we
It
do.
is.
It's gold, and it's kind of interesting, right? If you're willing to just listen to a lot of people's stories and how-tos, there's always something you'll pick up on. So were you there when that guy was talking about how that 7-year-old guy who was like,
Yes.
yeah, that was an
I g- I
awesome,
started almost
crazy,
crying. Like I had to hold it
right?
back. I was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah. I was like, wow, all of that. And then he comes up at the end, and I got a six pack. I'm like,
And I got abs,
yes, yeah,
baby.
I got abs, dude. I'm like, damn, that's what it's about. I mean, it's not about the abs. It's just about like,
Right.
you can tell the quality of life that he's gotten from that.
That he felt like he needed to get like most people's biggest fear is public speaking. And
Right.
he was like, I'm getting in front of these motherfuckers to
Yeah.
tell you,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, what's done
Yeah.
for me. That's how,
Yeah.
that's like a religious experience. You know what I mean?
It absolutely is. And I'm glad you said that. After one of my speeches is to let people know that, yes, you're behind the camera right now, but there's something that carnivore makes you want to actually be up there and lead and talk to people. Whether you're very shy, I used to be shy. I used to be the one in the corner. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I just watch the crowd, whatever. But look at me now. I'm like a public presence all of a sudden, right? This is not really, well, I would say this is not really me, but that's incorrect. You see, the carbs actually made me a person that wasn't me.
Hmm.
Carnivore made me my true self. That's what I felt
Yeah,
like. I don't
I
know if you
see that.
feel the same on that.
I feel what you know what's very interesting with me is mine came on like so I had a very healthy childhood.
Mm,
Like, oh, I shouldn't say very healthy childhood. I wasn't eating very well, but like I was happy, I was bliss, I was able to do whatever I wanted, like no hindrances. And
yeah.
then in my 20s, after I joined the military, which is why I just did a huge video on this today about the quality of food within the military, and it was a crazy video, and I got into a conspiracy theory, but uh,
Hey, I love those. You're
yeah,
talking my
it
language.
this video that I did today was like emotionally charged. But anywho, I spent 10 years, like my entire 20s. So like half my life, I mean, I'm 33 right now. At
Yeah.
that point, I had spent half my life. So I knew what it was like. I remember when I was 19, I bought a one-way ticket to Hawaii without
Mhm.
any plan and then found a
Wow.
place to live, found a job. You know what I mean? And was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, I couldn't even drive myself to work. That's
That's
how bad
crazy
my,
difference.
yeah.
Wow.
So I went from knowing what it was like, who I
Right.
was, to being, and that's why I think it was so depressing. And then coming out of that, I remember I used to pray. And I wasn't even religious. Like I would pray for an hour of mental clarity, no brain fog, no anxiety, no panic. Just please, God, please something, please whatever out there, give me an hour. And now I'm like, this is way better than an hour. This is way better than I could have hoped for. In fact, I think I'm even stronger than I was when I was 19. My
Right.
ability to do
Right.
crazy shit. I'm as a black belt who competed blindfolded in a cage and I got an armbar. So a competitive athletic black belt at the age of 33 as
Yeah.
a carnivore, I think was stronger and more to be dealt with than Chad, the college wrestler, when he was 19. And
Yeah.
there's 10 years of devastating mental and physical health problems in
Physical
between
health
there.
going down. Right. Right. That is crazy. And you've been carnivore how long now?
So I would say over a year, but I did not quit dairy until like I want to say 3 or 4
That's
months ago.
carnivore. But what do you mean by
Yeah.
dairy? You mean by like cheese?
I was doing raw dairy, like raw
Raw
milk,
dairy. Oh,
chugging
raw
goat
milk.
goat
Okay.
milk
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in a car. I don't think I would ever hardly get into ketosis because I was drinking raw milk like all the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I wouldn't say I got into ketosis consistently until a few months ago. And
Yeah.
then yeah.
And you saw the difference.
Oh, dude. So I saw a difference in every stage of my diet. One, just getting off processed foods,
Yes.
then one getting off plants, then getting off of dairy, and then getting rid of leaner meats that like chicken and
Oh, yeah.
uh fish, and then
Hmm.
getting rid of eggs
Hmm.
because I seem to know something with eggs, and then I
So
only
you're
went
pretty
egg
much
yolks,
lying right now.
and now I eat cow salt water.
Yeah. 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 You're
And
lying.
each
Okay.
each step I made, I got a lot better. And now for the
Yeah.
past 2 months, I've been just cow and water and salt,
Yeah.
and I feel incredible.
That's amazing. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I have to admit, I've had my few stints on that, but I never stuck with it. So I always go back to like the dairy. But you're right. It doesn't do me favors either. And I know it, but I'm like, yeah.
Better than plants.
I might go back into so again every season. So I might go into a season where I do that again. I've done ribeye only for 8 months. So that was
Ooh, how'd you afford
yeah.
that?
Uh I mean, it's not that wasn't that bad. When I prime on ribeye only, then that gets kind of expensive.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
But no, that wasn't that bad because you have to imagine, you're just not eating that much. So I'll eat about a pound and a half a day.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it wasn't that bad as far as price
It's
wise.
really,
It's
it's really not.
it's only $12 here in Atlanta for a
What?
pound. Yeah, yeah. So, and
Where
I'm not
at a
doing the
local
regenerative. Costco. No, I don't do it.
Costco? Okay, okay.
Yeah. I have not done local ribeyes because first of all, they never have enough ribeyes. Second of all, so I tried it for a little bit, but I did just didn't have enough ribeyes. Second of all, it didn't have enough fat, at least at the stage that I was doing it.
Mm.
So,
Do you ever just get like beef suet or bone marrow? Because
yeah,
I
and
do a lot of that.
I didn't do that. Yeah, you actually, how do you cut it? The bone,
The beef suet or the bone
the
marrow.
bone.
So
Yeah,
I like the butchers that I always go to, and you can even go to Sprouts, and they
yeah.
have bags of already cut bone marrow.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
And you know what I'm actually going to do before I buy my next bag of bone marrow? And by the way, just going to butchers, they're willing to give it away. But there's for like $30, I want to say, they have bone marrow butter, which is a low heat extrapolated bone marrow. That's all the ingredients, but they whip it kind of like a butter.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, maybe I'm just gonna do that, just like throw that on my steaks or something every once in a while.
Dude,
So I'll
that's a
have
great
flavor.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So you do regenerative meats?
I try to, but like
Yeah.
lately I've been doing Costco
Yeah.
for my kids and stuff too. But yeah, as long as I feel like I'm getting, because I'll eat like I told you, bone marrow or maybe liver every once in a while. As long as you're doing that, I feel like it's okay to eat Costco meat. Like I don't feel like you're losing those that many omega 3s and nutrients.
I mean, you could prove me wrong by saying you've gotten a lot better. I've done it this whole time on mostly, grain finished meats. So, uh, eh,
I haven't
and
noticed that
most of
big of
the
a difference.
right.
Taste,
And I've
taste is the only
tried, taste is
difference.
the difference. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I've tried the regenerative meats for a good stint because, I was going to do it right. Uh, but all that ended up being is a lot of frustration. And this diet, the way I see it is that if it's too difficult as far as frustration and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to easily not do it. So I told myself it's got to be easy. So that was one of my principles. It's got to be easy. Later on, I'll make it a little bit more difficult as a challenge, but initially I had to make it as easy as possible, as
Yeah.
accessible as possible too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's not like the Kirkland's Own is like the worst meat brand that you can get out there. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
So,
Actually, it's a pretty good brand, actually. And the
yeah.
taste is right on. I mean, I love it. So,
I love that they have and so my kids eat they love burgers. And so now they have the 100% grass-fed, grass-finished burger patties that are I want to say 80/20. And so they
gosh,
love
I've seen
that. So
that.
it's really easy. It's really
Yeah.
easy to like put pre-made. It's a little bit more processed, but not in a horrible way. But they're getting 100% grass-fed beef with all the connective tissue and stuff in there. So they love it. It's
Yeah.
easy.
Well, that's a conversation too. When we're saying processed, I mean, it went through a grinder. I mean, to me, it is a process, but it's like as long as it's actual real beef, which it is, I don't see any, and they didn't add anything like soy or anything like that. Some
Right.
burgers do. So, this one's
Oh
pretty
God.
clean,
I
so
got I
I don't
got
see
messed
anything
up
wrong
with
with that.
that. I
Yeah,
got
I
messed
know.
up with the
I
food
know I did
coloring.
too.
You didn't even know.
Oh yeah, and the food coloring. Right, right, right.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. They'll get
yeah.
you yeah, you got to be careful what you shop for. That and some of them will the cheaper cuts will have meat glue where they're
What?
yeah.
What's meat glue?
Oh, you
What?
don't know about meat glue? Yeah.
No, dude, don't
Uh,
tell me about
don't
that.
don't don't go down the rabbit hole on that
Yeah.
one. It's crazy. So
Tell me
so
what to stay away from. If I'm in Costco, am I okay?
Well, yeah, Costco, you're okay.
Okay.
They don't use
Okay.
meat glue, but we're talking about like your nearest Safeway or some cheap grocery store. They may use so what it is that they'll have connective chunks that are kind of separated. So they want to make it into like a form like let's imagine a tenderloin, so like that. So what they'll do is they'll take all these pieces and they'll sprinkle the meat glue on it, and then they'll mash it together, and it'll look like literally look like a chunk that was like that from the
Hmm.
cow itself. So it works,
Okay.
but I was it is made out of blood and some other things, some other little chemicals, but still I would rather stay away from any of that.
Yeah. I think and this is something I came to terms with. It's like what's going to be cost efficient and like you said, easy, right? Because it
Easy.
needs to be sustainable and I can't break the bank. And it's funny because when you're only eating one meal a day or whatever, then you realize like that's actually cheaper than what I was spending on food, eating out, uh, medication. You know what I mean? All these other things. Like you consider the entire spectrum of what I was spending on food that I no longer spend on food, that I no longer spend on spices, that I no longer spend on space, taking up those spices, so on and so forth, that I'm actually saving money. And so if
Yep.
you go like the Costco route and you're worried, if you're really worried about the omega 3s, then just have some bone marrow or some brain or whatever added to it. And okay, done. Beef suet is only $2 a pound or less. And a lot of people give away the beef suet. So it's like, okay, here, have a few ounces beef suet, taking care of that problem. There you go.
Yep. Two things about what you said. I never understand people's logic. Like, all of a sudden they're worried about omega-3. Damn, when you were in a crap diet, you never thought about omega-3.
I know.
All of a sudden, oh, that's so important to get everything right and all the portions right. What the hell, right? It's
Yeah.
like let's be real here. Go and enjoy that. If it's a meat, eat it. To me, it should be that simple. The other thing is, um, as far as the cost, I literally know people that spends what I spend in a day for my ribeye on just coffee
Yes. Yes.
or cigarettes.
Dude, that's, oh my God. That's a good
So,
point.
and they're not even eating. I mean, it's crazy, right? And
Yeah.
that's all justifiable for some reason.
And those are
But
both
no,
drugs.
no, ribeye is too expensive.
Yeah.
You know what
I've
I
s-
mean?
I've run into this case where there's my buddy who's in the military, his wife has Hashimoto's and
Mhm.
she was so desperate. I don't know if you know his name. Oh God, what is it? But it's this chiropractor who's right now, and he's been like kind of charged with doing some sketchy stuff, but he's charging like $10,000 or something for like this magic pill thing to help people with autoimmune disorders, turning off and on gene expressions. Oh God, I can't remember his name. Anyway, she was like convincing, like, hey, I'm about to spend $10,000 on this. And the husband's, in a skiff, like, please don't do this. Like, please don't do this. Like, let's talk about it. But she's so desperate for an answer. Then when I talked to him about carnivore, oh, I could never do that. Right? No, I could never. That just seems weird. It's like you're about to spend $10,000 on a miracle cream from a
Yep.
guy who's known to be a hoax. So I know the answer to you is worth $10,000.
Right. Right.
But I think that's what we're fighting. That's that bad of an
That's it.
addiction that causes people to have their legs cut off and like they can't even fathom. They'll be willing to they would be willing to spend $10,000 for a half-ass answer rather than just maybe changing their diet
Yep.
for a little while. That's
That's-
it's crazy how foreign this concept is to people.
It is. And I saw this documentary. This lady had her leg chopped off for due to diabetes complication, and she actually admitted, "I know what did it to me." And then she opens up her drawer full of candies, and she's still eating it.
Yeah.
She's like, "But I just can't stop." Wait, here's the thing, okay? And I want people to feel hopeful. I know what that addiction felt like. So do you. The thing is that we've been given the wrong answers that creates our addiction to be more stronger. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you get all that our bodies are crying out for is nourishment or quick energy. So quick energy being the candies or whatever, right? But that's not really what it wants. What it wants is that proper nourishment that you're not giving it.
Right.
So when we get that proper nourishment, all of those callings just kind of starts being nothing. I
Right.
know this because I've had so many people that told me there's no way they can give that stuff up. They love it and all that kind of stuff. Um, I've even told them, hey, I told a girl, is Shonda. You met Shonda?
Which one was Shonda?
Shonda, the curly hair, long hair. She
Yes,
she,
yes,
she
yes, yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes.
She just started her carnivore journey that day, and I told her, please,
I
if you can,
remember.
right, good. I told her, please, if you can, record your favorite food and say why you like it so much. It has to be a carb, of course, and it was. And I told her in 3 months, do the same thing. Why did I tell her that? Because there's something inside you that just like don't want it or need it as much anymore. Now, the longer you go carnivore, the less it is you're even thinking about it. So a lot of people think we're doing this with willpower. And what I want to prove to the world that this has nothing to do with willpower. It has to do with proper nourishment. How much willpower is it taking you to do eat your meat right now?
Oh, zero. I love it. I look forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the idea of when I've like strayed away from my diet at the beginning of it, that feeling is so apparent with me that when I look at that food, it looks like, and especially now what I know with sugar, it looks
Yeah.
like staples that taste good. It's like, would you
Yeah.
eat a staple that tastes good? No.
Right, 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 right.
And so now that I
Good
know
point.
what it does to my body, it's like, nah, like, you know, what I mean, it
Right,
doesn't even look attractive,
right.
you know?
Yeah. So now I'm at the point of, you ever seen these wax fruits and stuff like that? To me, that's what fruits look like. That's what any of these cakes look like. They look like they're plastic.
Hmm.
I don't like the smell of it. I don't like even being near it. It gives me a queasy feeling. I just Now I don't want to scare anybody away that hears me say that because the addiction is so strong back then that you won't try it because you're like, well, I want to love these foods. Do you remember that? I mean, you know how
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
strong that feeling
Yeah,
of
yeah, for
one, yeah.
sure.
So it's so strong that you don't even want to think of the thought that your body won't want it anymore.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's a drug.
Every
I mean,
It's
bottom
a
line,
drug.
it's a drug. Yeah, yeah,
And I'm glad that you said that because this is what I tell people all the time. When it comes to other things, but you just made me think of it for food. It's like, well, I could never give up this.
right.
I'm like, don't you think I felt the same way? And
Exactly.
I was like,
Exactly.
it's what hippocampus or not hippocampus. Oh my God, wow, Hippocrates. Hippocrates has that thing like, don't try to cure somebody or treat somebody who's not willing up to give up the thing that is making him sick in the
Right,
first place, right?
right.
And so I tell a lot of the people all the time, I was like, do you really want to get healthy or not? And then I tell them the ice bath is the same temperature for everybody. The person
That's
who
right.
can or cannot stay
That's
in,
right.
it's their mental discipline. So if for you to not even give me 30 days of giving something up, if you're not addicted, then it should be easy.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So give me 30
Exactly.
days. The ice
That's it.
bath, it was miserable for all of us. Trust me. I was having freaking nightmare slash like wet dreams about carbs when you know what I mean? And like
I
a
did.
food
I
I
had
hadn't
it too.
even had. Like
Yeah.
I was like freaking waffles with syrup. I could not
Hmm.
get it out of my head. I haven't had waffles in years, but I
Right.
could not stop thinking about it. So I'm saying like, no, the ice bath, the temperature's the same for all of us.
That's right.
You know what
That's
I
right.
mean?
We
You're
all
not
went through
built
the same
different.
thing. We're not
Yeah.
different. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We all had the same addictions to do the same things. And some of us will say, "Oh no, I had it much worse than you." No, we all felt it.
Yeah.
Some of us resisted a little more than others, but we all felt it.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
so that's where stoicism for me is such a huge part of this,
that's right.
where it's like stoicism doesn't try to save you from the difficulty. It actually makes you a master of the difficulty,
That's
right?
it.
A stoicism doesn't stray away from the hard seas. It moves towards the hard seas because it makes you a better sailor.
That's right.
So and I think that is why when we're going and we're diving into this, I think like, yeah, having encouragement is nice, but also to have some self-expectation, like, hey, I'm going through hell and I'm voluntarily going through this and I'm going to
Yes.
go there with dignity. So like, I think stoicism is a great way to help people dive into this.
I agree. We have to look at this adversity with some form of uh respect and not fear. Some form of like this is my challenge. This is what I need to go through, even if it takes me to my knees. Um, and it did at times for me, this journey did, but you know what? It was way better than what took me down to practically in my grave.
Hmm.
That has nothing. And yes, so a lot of people told me this. Well, you were near death. Of course, it makes sense. It's the easiest decision to make because you were near death. Of course, you can keep it up. Uh, because you know what that felt like. And I'm like, you know, I don't know what to say to people like that. So I don't have the experience where, I was actually well and decided to just go through hell anyways. But if I was well, I would want the best version of myself, I would think. So
Hmm.
hopefully I would have gone through it just to actually see, or just out of curiosity to see what I could do on the other side. But I don't know that answer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have two questions for you. One, can I
Yeah.
post this as a video on my
Sure.
YouTube channel?
Yeah, you
Two,
like that.
I love this. You are like a wealth of knowledge and power and positive energy. I love it. I love being around you. I love being around Todd. I love being
Yeah,
around you
Todd's
guys.
awesome.
Like, it's easy to fall in love with you guys. I was telling Todd, I was like, dude, like, I'm not, I used to be very reserved with like words like love and affection and stuff, but now I'm like, I fall in love with like certain people very quickly, and you guys are
Yeah,
easy
man.
to fall in love with. And when Bella was like, "You're invited to the wedding." I'm like, I'm literally just getting a fan picture right now. And she was like, "No, please come." And then we started talking, and then it's like, "Okay, I'll come to your wedding." And
I'm
then
glad
the
you
more I
came.
got to, yeah, the more like I got to know you guys throughout the day, and then at the wedding, I was like, these people are incredible. This is one of the best decisions I've ever made, was to come do this convention, come to this wedding, because you guys are so easy to fall in love with because you're genuine. And it's weird because we've all been through hell. So it's like we have this shared trauma that
We
we've
do.
never known anybody. It's like meeting a veteran, you know?
Right, 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 right.
And you're all like, your message is so positive, and all you're trying to do is help people. Like you said, you become like this evangelical, like carnivore seer, like it, because you just want everybody to not be lied to anymore because you know what it's like.
Right.
And then the second thing I wanted to say is, anybody from the steak and butter gang who
Mhm.
wants to join this group, I would say let's get them in for free. And anybody who you want to join for free, and then build from there. So like if they invite anybody, then it can go to like being more charged and
Men
things like
only.
that. Men only for sure. Yeah, biological men only.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, if you pee standing up, you're more than welcome in the group. And
That's it.
but seriously, like, so anybody that you want to invite for the steak and butter gang, because what, I don't want to take anybody from there, but at the
Right.
same time, they're already paying for a group. So if they want to
Right.
be part of this group too, then I want it to be incentivized for them to join without giving that up, right? And I
Right.
don't want to take from the steak and butter gang income, right?
Yeah.
So anybody that you want to invite to get this group started, to get these calls to be a little bit more diverse, and then as we start to post these online, people will start to see the community. And so I'm going to start inviting my friends, and starting Monday, like I said, is when my videos start getting released, actively inviting people to the community.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, I'll have to definitely chat with Bella and make sure she's okay with that. So,
Yeah.
that's probably the only thing. I don't think she'll have a problem with it, but I do want to
Yeah.
talk to her first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And that's what I'm saying. So whatever you
So,
feel most comfortable with. This is my son, Cassius.
uh, hey.
You say hi. What do you need, bud? I'm about to be done right now, okay? And then I'll come right out to you. Sound good? All right, love you. So
Mhm. Awesome.
mom mom went out to hang out with a friend, and so he's like, how do I entertain myself? Mom's not here. Uh But yeah, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. All I want to
Yeah.
say is that since you're working with both groups and you were kind of starting a men's group, just be like,
Yeah.
whoever you want to get involved, that you're already talking to, and if everybody's comfortable with it, uh, to do this group for free. And so,
Yeah, yeah, and I want to be as open as possible with of course, since I am with Bella's group. So and I do want to do, like I said, a side men's group. So I think this is opportune. So
okay,
we'll see how it plays out. It's kind of going to roll, but I'm going to keep her updated with everything that's
yeah,
happening.
just let me know. So
Yeah, I
thank you
will.
so much.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate you.
Awesome. All right. In closing, do you have anything to say?
Um, Getting involved with a group is very underestimated, right? And it's very interesting because back in history, you used to be part of a community, and usually the people around you shared a lot of values. And now we are in a day and age where you don't even know your neighbor. As a matter of fact, you can like hate your neighbor a
That's
lot of the
right.
times, and because they have different values, they look different, so on and so forth. But what's very interesting is, now that we see the emergence of like online communities, not like online forums, I think that's going to be the future of the way we interact, because I might have values with somebody on the other side of the country that not necessarily that I'm coming into contact with. And so we can get together and realize there's more people like me out there who share these values. And I thought I was an outcast for so long, doing carnivore, doing jujitsu, not trusting the government, things like that. And with all my beliefs and stoicism, I'm like, I talk to people about practical life philosophies and they're like, no, I'm a Christian. And I'm like, it's different, right? And so anyway, it's like you feel like you can't talk to somebody, but there are more people out there than you realize. And that's the thing, that you go to these conventions and you're like, that person suffered so similar to me. Yeah, I've never spoken to a doctor or a professional or anybody who ever heard of anything like what I was going through, who could
That's
even
right.
diagnose me. So they are out there. And so the more we start reaching online, the more that you could realize your community just might be in a different part of the world. And this brings us all together. And I think it will fulfill that sense of community and shared value system that you might need and that you're lacking. And so I completely underestimated groups, especially online groups. And I mean, meet in person as much as you can, right? If you
Of
have a
course.
community in person. But I think this is a great way to find a weird niche of people who think, act, and want to be exactly like you, and to make those connections. So that would be my exiting thing. Why should you join a group? I think this is why. I think it's very underestimated. And not only that, it's going to surround yourself with people who want you to move upward, who are not trying to use you as an incentive for themselves to propagate them. Not
Yes.
everybody who smiles is your friend, and not everybody who's an asshole is your enemy. As
That's
a
right.
matter of fact, oftentimes it's the opposite. So we might have some tough love here, but I think this would be a great thing. Like we said, the ice bath is the same temperature for everybody. Let's do it.
That's right. That's
I
right.
don't want to hear the complaints. Let's do it. We got it.
I love it.
Let's go.
I love it. Cool. I'm glad you're putting this together. So I can't wait to see what community this develops. So I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much, Chad.
And I appreciate you joining this. It really means the world to me, and you're a wealth of knowledge. So I'm glad that I've have you as this asset as part of the group.